What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're out racing. This was a couple weekends ago at the Southern Roots Race Tour. This is my first time riding this quad and first time riding in over a year due to a tore shoulder. So we're out here. This quad I put together about 2 or 3 days before the race just to make sure it ran, just to make sure it would function, but I didn't have any time to test the suspension. So here we are on the start line. The whole plan on the start line: get last off the start, kind of feel the quad out because I've never rode it before, and just make sure to not flip it. It's pretty much the only goal that I had. I kind of showed up not really expecting to finish the race. I wasn't sure how my shoulder was going to hang on. But as you'll see, as you kind of get out there, it did. I mean, it was rough, but the main thing was the quad wasn't really set up the way that I thought it was. So we'll go through here, get everybody off the line, and then you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Before we get started, this guy right here, in his own class, this grass was no joke coming through. Overslid, spun off the track, and everybody's just standing up like, what the hell? But it's all in good fun. My friend had come back and said, no, he's going over to the food truck.
Let him go. He's going through the pit. Isn't that the pit? He fucking missed the corner, went through the pit.
He was getting a Slurpee.
I gotta turn the key on. That's alright, it started. It started and he's off.
Alright, you ready? Key on, key on.
Alright, cool down flag's on. I swear this guy beside me is just messing with me. Maybe it's like a tactic. You can hear him barely bump his starter. I don't know. Maybe he's doing it on accident. But remember, the goal is last off the line, figure out how the quad handles. Okay, plan's over. I accidentally got the whole shot a little bit, and I was glad to let him go in front. Please go in front, because this first turn, you can see I whipped the handlebars, bike never moved, and I smacked a tree. So get on it. The bike is side to side all over the track. I slow down, try to tuck into this corner, and realize I'm in trouble. The bike is not responding. Go wide on this corner, and at this point, I just decided to go ahead and kind of slow down and kind of look behind me, see if I'm holding anybody up, and just go ahead and just let everybody go. So still waiting, seeing if I hear anybody running up. Try to sweep this corner. The bike just drifts like crazy. It won't stay flat. So then I see this tight stuff. Or not yet, not yet. Alright, so now we're getting into the woods. So trail's getting a little bit tighter. You can see he clipped that tree. I clipped it too. And now I realize I'm in trouble. So you saw me nosedive. That was me locking up the brakes, realizing that I can't turn. So we're just gonna try to slow down and kind of cruise through, but it's hard whenever you see somebody going hard in front of you and you know that you should be able to pass, but we're still trying to get used to the quad. Man, that was my wrist, and I realized that I was in trouble. So I saw the tree. You can see the handlebars move. You can see the tires move. But the quad it didn't have time to react. So anything that I was inputting, nothing was coming back through the handlebars. So I decided, you know what, just let everybody go. Let's start it back up. And that was the first time the Rekluse installed also. So that's what we're gonna fix later in this video. This is just kind of showing you stuff that I kind of ran into. This is a starting point, and we'll go from there. So that's the second stall of the Rekluse. So even though the free plate lane was almost right where it needed to be, I guess after a little bit of break-in, that play changed a little bit, so I had to adjust it later. So yeah, I'm wanting to push the bike, but it's not responding. So that turn I barely made. Same thing there, had to let off all the way to the throttle. So coming through, you know, I honestly didn't want to pass this guy. I just wanted to get into a little bit tighter stuff and see if the quad would actually corner. But at that point, it just got too close. He had to get over so I could try to speed up. So appreciate him moving. So get in this next corner. I barely hit the throttle. Overshot the corner. Handlebars are locked. Bike's not going to turn. Make it through that section. If you watch the handlebars here, fully locked. I know I was late into that corner, but at this point, I know I'm in deep trouble. I think about right here is where I decided that that's it. That's the second or third tree that I've clipped. So at this point, I'm just gonna have to cruise. So first or second gear, just kind of putt through and try to make it to the end of the race. front end straight, and I'm so the kid's sitting next to his quad because he's broke, and I honestly could not steer around him to save my life because the hill was slanted and the bike just would not turn. So first gear, put by him. I had to do it 2 or 3 times, so he honestly probably thinks I'm dumb. Getting a little bit more confident, and then I'm pretty sure that tree is coming anytime soon now that I'm going to clip another one. The rear didn't make it through that one. I started figuring out, you can see how early I started that corner. So about halfway through, I kind of figured out that if I see the turn, if I start turning 4 to 5 feet before the turn, I might have a chance at making it. Which sounds dumb, but if you watch my hands and watch the wheels, every time there's a turn, I'm turning usually 3 to 5 feet before the turn to try to make it. And that's all in the caster adjustment pretty much. That was luck right there. That had to have been luck that I missed that tree. So just cruising, knowing that if I push the quad any harder, I'm gonna end up having to lock up the brakes, probably hit another tree. I think throughout the day I hit at least 10. Just remembering how I set stuff up, how I can ride, and just clicking that button on, like, hey, the quad is gonna do this whenever I tell it to, and then sure enough, that tree reminds you that you didn't set the suspension up. But that's all right. You gotta start somewhere. Fun little hill climb I did not want to get stuck on. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Overshot it and luckily made that one. I think there's one later in the video where I don't make it and I'm just off in the woods at that point, pushing the bike back and forth. The YFZ doesn't have reverse, so once you're stuck you got to get off and push it. I think if you heard that sound, I think that was my skid plate ripping off. You can kind of hear something slapping, so I think I actually lost those front bolts or broke the front mount on the first lap. Here I'm thinking it's the throttle. I'm like, you know, let's loosen the throttle up because I'm just cruising. So I take some throttle off and it actually made it worse. So here you can see the ribbon I just went through. Somebody went through that and that was not the trail. So I rolled up to it thinking, hey, it's a little bit narrower, but there is not a chance in the world I'm gonna make it through that. So I honestly lost the trail. I couldn't find it because somebody had already run through these two ribbons. So I don't see it behind me. You can see it behind the quad. So there was actually a big barricade. They did a really nice job. Somebody just ran through it. And once they ran through it, I think I missed that turn twice.
Is there any room to scoot around right here? In between there?
And you see this kid pointing towards the trail, and I'm like, you sure? You sure there's room over there? And I gotta adjust my kill switch. For whatever reason, the button is too close to the bars, and I couldn't get the kill switch back on. So the trail was starting to open up. Here it's starting to get a little bit tighter. And you can see fully lock the bars left, right, and I don't have that 4 or 5 feet to make the turn. So I'm gonna cut it off here. There's nothing really else to see. I took a chunk out of that tree. But get back to the shop and we'll go through it. Alright, so back at the shop after race weekend, got the quad washed up. Only damage I really got was we lost a skid plate. So this bracket on the front, it's right here and it hooks to the front bumper. Somehow I hit something, either that or the bolts just came loose. I don't know if they were lock washers or not because they're gone now. But the skid plate ended up binding up underneath the quad. I just had to drag it back to the pit. Went ahead and took it off for this race. If we would have been like out riding practicing, that probably would have been the end of my day. But a couple guys at the track said bad plastics. So that's what we're gonna go with is bad plastic skid plate. I think it loops around right here. We might have to cut this Wrath bumper or this RJR bumper just a little bit to get it to fit through there, but I think it'll be a good option. That way if we clip anything else, here's those brackets. So the bolts are definitely gone. So that way if we clip anything, then this will be rounded off instead of sharp and able to catch. So today we're gonna do damage assessment on anything. So skid plate and lost a battery. That was my fault. I didn't get to ride the quad for about a year. So anti-gravity battery, it died. It's done. So that's my fault leaving it plugged in. It does have a vortex. I don't know if it's updated or not. I mean, we could plug it in and update it, but from my experience, every YFZ drains the battery. If it sits, you're supposed to unplug it. I just forgot to. So anti-gravity battery is toast, but got something else over here. So I've been filming a couple YouTube videos. I've lost 3 of the videos and 1 video lost audio. So got this one. So it's a Sony, better mic. So looking forward to using this one. Hopefully no more lost clips, lost audio, because I've lost 3 videos I really wanted to post. There were some maintenance videos, stuff that would have been really helpful, and I'll just have to wait until I get another quad. So there was a Raptor video and a YFZ video. They were both really good, but that's all right. We'll refilm it, this camera, and we're swapping. 3, 2. So here we are, Sony camera, new mic. I'm not gonna lie, right before I put the GoPro down, card error, something, I had to film the clip twice. We're done with it. We're gonna leave the GoPro to the helmet stuff, and we're just gonna go ahead and use a good camera in the shop. So first up, we got a new anti-gravity battery. This one is 240 cranking amps. So that should help high compression with cams. That should get us by. And it's super light. If you've never had an anti-gravity battery, and they also advertise that you can not charge it for up to a year as long as there's no drain on the battery. So that was our issue, the drain on the battery from the vortex or just the harness in general. It draws 12 volts whenever the bike is off. Got a new foam piece. This battery is a little bit smaller, so foam piece probably go on top just to keep it secure in there. And then our 24 volt kit, I believe it's from B&R, but this battery ended up still being good, thankfully. And then we got our Optimate charger. So we'll just use this on both of these batteries. This is the junk one. We might just keep it in the box as a spare. I think a cell is damaged in it. I did try to charge it already. It was 0.4 volts. The battery's done. So this advertises anything below, I believe, 11. The battery is garbage. So usually with like 12 volt batteries, if you're above 9 volts, it's able to be saved. This one, it was just a silly thing. Plug it in, 0.4 volts. The charger says it's charged. I tried to start it with the quad, and it doesn't turn over near as fast as it should. But got this battery. We'll make sure to take care of this one. And now we'll get working on the suspension. Alright, so first step, we'll go ahead and get our seat back on. And we're going to sit on the bike. It's better to have 2 people to do this, just so you can kind of sit in your riding position. I don't have 2 people, so we'll just work with what we got. So we're going to measure right in front of the foot peg. So foot peg to the ground. Right now we're sitting at about 7.5. I'm going to go ahead and lower that down to about 6 3/4, and then we're going to aim for 7 in the front. So we're gonna aim for 7 right here in the front of the rail. So first step is to get the rear shock off and go ahead and adjust the preload on it so we can bring the quad down in the back. So after that, we'll get to the front end. Alright, so we got our preload set. We loosened up the rear just a little bit. We were able to get a little bit out of it, but that spring, it's not going to let us get to 6 3/4. So it's going to let us get to 7 at the peg, which I'm happy with. That's like the maximum ride height that I'd like to be at. And then whenever I checked the front, it was actually already 7 1/4. So it must have been already a little bit off. Not sure what happened there. I should have measured it before I started. But anyway, so 7 at the foot peg, 7 1/4 in the front. Now we're going to get on to the front end. So we're going to do caster, camber, toe in, all that good stuff. But first step, these wheels look like they had another boo-boo in them from the race. There's a plug. It wasn't leaking before, and now this tire is at 1 PSI, so we can't set it up like that. And I don't want to have another mistake at the track, so I'm going to go ahead and just swap these out. So swap out some tires, then we can set up some suspension. Well, I have made a discovery. These are not tire balls. These are Dora the Explorer balls. So I don't know about all that. I think I'm just gonna leave them out of both the front wheels. All right, so new GBC tire. We already got both sides looped up. Get that on there. Then we'll get our ring. And I believe these torque to 9 foot-pounds. Alright, so while we got the wheel off, go ahead and take care of our caster adjustment. So that's the big reason I ended up not being able to turn this past race. So you can see, like I was talking about, the ear on the back of the spindle is down. So we want to get that up some more. So we're going to go from +2, and you can see on the spindle whenever I turn this, rotate it forward, and the whole spindle comes up. So before we were about right there, and now we're going to go -2, which will bring the whole thing up to about right there. Just that little bit of adjustment, it'll be night and day. So the 21 build, the XC build that I never got to ride, that one was actually at -2, and it was just sharp enough, it cut just hard enough for me to feel like I was chasing the front end a little bit. So I think for the tight trails that we're running on the Southern Routes Tour, I think it's a good setup. I think I can chase the front end just a little bit and it still be stable. So even worse now, getting down here with the bike. This spindle is on 3. So literally one side was +2, the other side's +3. Now it doesn't make any sense. But that's all right. We're gonna loosen this bolt. We're gonna get it to -2 where it should have been. And then we're gonna go ahead and swap out this tire. The other one had the plug in it. So go ahead and get 2 fresh front new tires, and then we'll check the, and also the toe in. So for tire pressure, I'm gonna go with 5.5. And I know on this gauge that that's about where I want to be. So 5.5 in the front and 5 in the rear. Alright, so we got the front wheels on a flat piece of concrete, and we got our string out, and you can see pretty darn close. So I don't think I'm going to mess with that. You can see the rear there sticks out just a little bit. This side, same thing, sticks out just a little bit. So I think the alignment front to back is good to go. The only thing we got to worry about is check our toe in, and then we're also going to double check our camber. So we haven't checked our camber at all yet. So 29.5. 29, and looks like it has about 1/4 of an inch, so I'll double check that now. Alright, so final step, we're going to check our camber. So you can do this with a tape measure in a square, or you can do it with an angle finder in a square. We're going to use the angle finder just because I have it. So center of the wheel, and we're going to square it up on the concrete, and then pick a spot, and then rotate it, and it looks like we're sitting at about 2 degrees. So I already checked the other side. So 2 degrees on either side. I mean, 1 to 1.5 I would like, but there's no more threads on the end of these nuts. So I guess 2 degrees on either side, that's what we're gonna go with. So we're just gonna go and double check the damper. You saw in the video, whenever I nicked a tree, and even some of the ruts, you might see some of the ruts in there, it felt like the stabilizer was doing absolutely nothing. So just for fun, we're gonna check the settings, but then we're gonna adjust it the correct way anyway. So on the precision, you always start with it fully closed. So we're just gonna count the notches until it's fully closed. 15, so that is on center. So 15 on center is very light. So we're going for, let's see what the setting says. So we're going for cross country average roughness. Center should be 8. So almost cut that number in half. So that'll really stiffen up the bars and keep that impact from coming back to our wrist. So we'll leave center like that now. We're going to run down the other one, which is sides. So on sides, we got to 16. And on this, it says sides should be 10. So once again, 16, the damper's not really doing anything. At least not what I want it to do. So we're going to clean these adjusters off, make sure we adjust it right, and we're going to go 8 on center and 10 on sides. So take this one, run it all the way down. So just to what you can get to with your finger, don't put a wrench on it. So that's our starting point, and then we're gonna count the spaces. So pick a spot. That's 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're gonna stop on 8. And then we're gonna do the same thing the other side, but we're gonna go 10. Start and run it all the way down. 8, 9, and that's 10. Alright, so we got the damper set up. So don't think that that's like set in stone. That's something that can easily be adjusted on the trail. Once you hit a few bumps, test out the track for that day. If it's rougher than you thought, go ahead and adjust your center. And that's, how stiff is it going to be to turn, and how much of an impact is it going to take to turn the bars. After that, your sweep, or your sides is what they call it on the damper. That determines how crazy you want the rear end to get, pretty much. So you can tighten it all the way up where the bike bicycles, or you can tighten it down and really kind of lay flat in the corners. And the good thing about it is I found that if you adjust it, you find where you like it. It doesn't take long to adjust, and then you take every corner exactly the same all day long, no matter how rough the corner is. So precision damper, #1 part in my book. So we had a brand new throttle cable this last race, so it has stretched. You can see that's a little bit too much play, not what we're looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten the cable up, and remember, we tightened it all the way at the throttle body. So that means all of our adjustment is up here at the bars now. So it could be on the fly. So we'll push that, get the cable back tight. We do want a little bit of play. So about right there, maybe a little bit more play. So that should be good right there. Go ahead and tighten it back. But I also noticed that it was off just a little bit. So I couldn't really find like a sweet spot of it being too aggressive. And whenever I popped it down, go to 3/4, it wasn't aggressive enough. So I'm actually gonna break the lock screws loose, and I'm gonna move this lever. So full throttle position, I'm gonna move it in maybe 1/8 of an inch. And after that, I think it'll be perfect. Try to go a little bit more. I think that's a good mix right there. So in the full throttle position, I'm not overextending my thumb to come all the way back. And then full throttle, it feels comfortable. 3/4 throttle, if we're gonna kind of cruise, that seems like a good space. So that seems like at the second setting, I'm about maybe half throttle, and that's about where my arms are comfortable. Alright, so last thing on the list, we got the Rekluse. So if you saw in the video, whenever I came up to the flagger station, I stalled maybe once. I don't even know if it made it to the video because the GoPro died, and I knew that I wasn't going to go fast, so I didn't worry about putting another battery in it. But whenever I I come up to the fire station, lock the brakes down, the bike stalled 1 or 2 times, and then whenever I clipped the first tree, the bike stalled. So it shouldn't be stalling with Rekluse, which means even though our free plate gain is really, really close, we still need to back the pressure plate off just a little bit. So I'm going to back it off 2 notches and then tighten it all back down, and after that it should be good to go. Alright, so right here we got our little mark we made, and we want to go 2 notches. So this is our locking pin. Inspect it, make sure it's still all good. And then we're going to take this 1 notch, 2 notch, and then we're going to slide our locking pin back in. Sideways, and then lock it. Heard it snap in. Check the ring. So after that, it's good to go. So we're going to go ahead and put our pressure plate back on. We could have done it by holding the clutch, but I don't have one more person, and I really didn't want to zip tie it. So we're just going to go ahead and take our pressure plate. Alright, so that's going to do it for today. Just one last part. If you know the YFZs, these clips are awesome to get the plastics off quick, but if you ride hard, they come off. So we lost this one. We might actually have broke the, we broke the mount, so I'll have to dig through and find another mount. That's probably why the clip came out. But that'll be the last part. So that's it for really like an initial setup video. This definitely wasn't a final setup. So I'm gonna try to get at least 2 rides in before the next race. It's the 3rd, so that's whenever we're gonna be out there. We're gonna try to get at least 2 rides in, rough, XC stuff, try to find some tight trails, and adjust the stabilizer to what I'm used to. And then also bring the jack and all just in case I want to adjust the caster either faster or slower. I really think -2 is going to get me where I want to be, get used to riding it. So I haven't had much seat time, just that one race on this quad. So looking forward to getting some more seat time. So that's going to do it for this video. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. Give the video a thumbs up, like it, share it, and we will see you on the next one.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must